in the audience? It's got to be a single video.
And you got hand most of that.
We got nostril again?
No, you got hand.
Oh, hand on that one? All right, good deal. Well, they did it. The world's going to end. What happens when you take something that's taboo and make it no longer taboo? What am I talking about? Marijuana. Who did it? Colorado. They went and legalized the use of marijuana for recreation. What I'm going to talk to you about today is the economic impact that the legalization of marijuana has had on Colorado in the last year in the fields of crime, the amount of revenue it's brought in, and the employment opportunities it's created. The first thing I want to talk to you about is the crime rate. Opponents of the legalization of marijuana for recreational use have long said, if we make it legal, well, all sorts of crime is going to go out. Right? Everybody's going to smoke pot, everybody's going to do everything. But the statistics say differently. We can talk about how the drug-related offenses has dropped, but common sense says, duh. We just took 40% of all misdemeanor drug-related crimes and made them legal. So we won't even talk about that. First thing we're going to talk about is how overall crime has dropped over 2% in the state of Colorado. Now, as I went over things, I looked at it, but all I could really find is citywide. So we looked at the biggest city in Denver, Colorado, and we broke it down into two subjects: violent crime and property crime. And you all have a handout in your hand right now, and I'd like you to follow along with me. First off, let's look at homicide. We're going to look from 2013 to 2014 because recreational use was legalized and the sale of it was legalized starting January 1, 2014. The number of homicides dropped by a total number of 10 in the city of Denver. That's a negative 24.4% drop in crime. We look at rape, dropped 2.5%. Robbery, dropped 3.3%. Now, aggravated assault, it went up by 0.7, less than 1%. Let's look at property crime. Burglaries dropped negative 9.5%, almost 10% drop. Larceny went up 1%. Motor vehicle theft went down 1%. Theft from a motor vehicle went down 21%, and arson actually jumped. Overall, if you count all of those, the total drop in crime is negative 2%. So, did legalization hurt the crime rate? Not at all. We're talking about traffic fatalities. Some of the opponents are looking at it right now and they're saying that all of our DWIs, all our drinking, well, those crimes are going to go up once marijuana hits. It's hard to actually judge that because when you're intoxicated, your blood alcohol content stays high while you're intoxicated. Once the alcohol's out of your system and you're no longer drunk, it's out of your bloodstream. However, when you're talking about marijuana, if a person smokes a joint today, it can stay into their system up until 16 weeks, or 6 weeks, excuse me. So what I went ahead and did, and I pulled this from the Department of Colorado Transportation Department, and I went over all fatalities, and I went back to 2002. Overall, we're actually below the average for the 10-year fatalities in the years of 2013 and 2014. So overall, crime in the state, it's dropped 2%. We can say the number's a lot bigger if we just stick with drugs, but that's kind of unbalancing the scales of it. Moving on, next thing I want to talk to you about is the amount of revenue brought in from marijuana. According to the Colorado Department of Revenue, $52.6 million were brought in from the licensing fees and the taxes on the sale of marijuana itself. $52.6 million. What are they doing with this money? That's the biggest question. They have $52.6 million. What are we doing? Marijuana is taxed in the state of Colorado at an outrageous percent of 28%. Of that, 15% is directly put into the education system. In 2014, they put $10.3 million into the Colorado education system, building new schools, fixing old schools, and bringing in special teachers, your occupational therapists, your speech therapists, and what have you. Now, a lot of people say it's the first year. That's a huge amount of money. We're not going to get the same amount of money. Well, if you look at it, in January of 2014, Colorado brought in 3.5 million in sales of marijuana for recreational use. We're not even talking about medical use, just recreational. In 2015, the same month, 1 year later, Colorado brought in 8.8 million. Colorado did not reach the sales of 7 million for 1 month until August of 2014. By that trend, the amount of money that will be brought in for taxes and revenue to the state next year should almost double. The final thing I want to talk to you about is employment opportunities in Colorado. Colorado has started an entire new industry. Prior to 2014, recreational sale was illegal. All of a sudden, it's legal. What have they done? According to Forbes magazine, they estimate between 7,500 and 10,000 jobs were created in the year of 2014 just through the legalization of recreational use of marijuana. Such jobs as store managers, salesmen, trimmers, harvesters, farmers, confectioners. Yes, they make it in a candy form. And in order to make it in a candy form, you have to make it in an oil form. So now you have the scientists that are actually breaking it down. So it's not just your minimum wage jobs. Up to 10,000 jobs were created in the year 2014 for the state of Colorado alone. So we've talked about it. What are the economic impacts? Recreational use of marijuana in one state created somewhere between 7,500 and 10,000 jobs. Brought in over $52 million in tax revenue, over 10 million of which went to the school system, and dropped the overall rate of crime in the state by about 2%. And we're taking away just the drug charges. That's just overall crime. So in the last year, Colorado's legalization has done nothing but improve the economic standings of the state of Colorado. I want to leave you with a quote. I want to leave you with a quote from the first president of the United States, President George Washington. What he said, Colorado has done. He said, "Make the most of the Indian hemp seed and sow it everywhere." Thank you for your time. Pan the audience, please. Clapping is unnecessary. I get a grade with or without it.